But okay, this is video number 2. Go check out video number 1.
But they're all Americans. They're all Americans. And what we have to do is say, wear these masks, number one. Make sure we get the help that the businesses need that has money's already been passed to do that. It's been out there since the beginning of the summer, and nothing's happened.
President, New York has lost more than 40,000 people, 11,000 people in nursing homes.
President Trump,
when you say spike, take a look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, where they've had it closed. Take a look at what's happening with your friend in Michigan, where her husband's the only one allowed to do anything. It's been like a prison. Now it was just ruled unconstitutional. Take a look at North Carolina. They're having spikes, and they've been closed, and they're getting killed financially. We can't let that happen, Joe. You can't let that happen. We have to open up. And we understand the disease. We have to protect our seniors. We have to protect our elderly. We have to protect especially our seniors with heart problems and diabetes problems. And we will...
And also lung problems, because that's seriously what's going to go get you, because they attack the lungs.
Protect. We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases.
Let me follow up with you before we move on to our next section. President Trump, this week you called Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's best-known infectious disease expert, quote, a disaster. You described him and other medical experts as, quote, idiots. If you're not listening to them, who are you listening to as you fight this?
I'm listening to all of them, including Anthony. I get along very well with Anthony. But he did say, don't wear masks. He did say, as you know, this is not going to be a problem. I think he's a Democrat, but that's okay. He said this is not going to be a problem. We are not going to have a problem at all. When Joe says that, I said, Anthony Fauci said, and others, and many others, and I'm not knocking him a lot. Nobody knew. Look, nobody knew what this thing was. Nobody knew where it was coming from, what it was. We've learned a lot. But Anthony said, don't wear masks. Now he wants to wear masks. Anthony also said, if you look back, exact words, here's his exact words. This is no problem. This is going to go away soon. So he's allowed to make mistakes. He happens to be a good person.
Vice President Biden, your response quickly, and then we're going to move on to the next section.
My response is that think about what the president knew in January.
He just said nobody knew. Okay, so if he's listening to Anthony Fauci, he would have not have known. If he's not, then he would have closed it. So which is it? Did he not do it and listen to the science? Or did he do it and ignore the science but make your point invalid?
Didn't tell the American people. He was told this was a serious virus that spread in the air, and it was much worse than the flu. He went on record and said,
it's just the flu, bro.
To one of your colleagues, recorded that in fact he knew how dangerous it was, but he didn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us because he didn't want us to panic. He didn't want us. Americans don't panic.
Americans don't panic. Trump said this, Trump said that.
Panic. But guess what? In the meantime, we found out in the New York Times the other day that in fact his folks went to Wall Street and said this is a really dangerous thing.
That's not what we found out in the okay, it was supposed to be the New York Post, but whatever. It was, I guess that is what we kind of found out in the New York Times. I thought he was talking about the New York Post, the big story.
And a memo out of that meeting, not from his administration, but from some of the brokers said, sell short because we got to get moving. It's a dangerous problem.
Well, this is
I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then we're going to move on.
The Wall Street one, I don't know. Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could raise so much more money as president and as somebody that knows most of those people. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America. I would blow away every record, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position. And then you bring up Wall Street. You shouldn't be bringing up Wall Street because you're the one that takes the money from Wall Street, not me. I could blow away your records that like you wouldn't believe. We don't need money. We have plenty of money. In fact, we beat Hillary Clinton with a tiny fraction of the money that she was able to.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on.
Don't tell me about Wall Street.
Average contribution, $43.
All right, we're going to move on to...
Average, Yeah, let's see how many billionaires Joe Biden's been donated to, or how many billionaire, whatever. Only in March, the single month alone, 27 billionaires donated to Joe Biden. So tell me again, who's raking in all the billionaires? And this isn't over a year. This is a single month.
On to our next section, which is national security. And I do want to start.
Oh, okay, there's the sixth section that I didn't get.
With the security of our elections and some breaking news from overnight. Just last night, top intelligence officials confirmed again that both Russia and Iran are working to influence this election. Both countries have obtained U.S. voter registration information, these officials say, and Iran sent intimidating messages to Florida voters. This question goes to you, Mr. Vice President. What would you do to put an end to this threat? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
I made it clear.
Why would we be discussing this in a presidential debate?
And I ask everyone else.
I guess it has to do with the election.
To take the pledge. I made it clear that any country, no matter who it is, that interferes in American elections will pay a price. They will pay a price.
Is Joe Biden threatening to go to war with another country for meddling in American elections?
Overwhelmingly clear this election, I won't even get into the last one, this election, that Russia has been involved, China has been involved to some degree, and now we learned that
and let me guess, it turns out the entire report's fake, only 3 years later.
That Iran is involved. They will pay a price if I'm elected. They're interfering with American sovereignty.
Paying a price. Are you going to apply sanctions? Is that what you're gonna go do? Because I can only see 2 ways of this. Either, actually 3 ways. Saying, hey, you guys are meanies and not actually do anything. Going to war and applying sanctions. So, tell me again who's big, bad, scary warmonger?
Sovereignty. That's what's going on right now. They're interfering with American sovereignty. And to the best of my knowledge, I don't think the president said anything to Putin about it. I don't think he's talked with him a lot. I don't think he said a word. I don't know why he hadn't said a word to Putin about it. And I don't know what he has recently said, if anything, to the Iranians. My guess is he'd probably be more outspoken with regard to the Iranians. But the point is this, folks. We are in a situation where we have...
He uses the word folks, a lot.
Have foreign countries trying to interfere in the outcome of our election. His own national security advisor told him that what is happening with his buddy, his buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being...
Oh my God.
Fed information that is Russian, that is not true. And then what happens? Nothing happens. And then you find out that...
Okay, so he's being fed information that's not true. Okay. And then he doesn't do anything with it. What's the problem?
Everything that's going on here about Russia is wanting to make sure that I do not get elected the next president of the United States because they know I know them and they know me. I don't understand why this president is unwilling to take on Putin when he's actually paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, when he's engaged in activities that are trying to destabilize all of NATO. I don't know why he doesn't do it, but it's worth asking the question. Why isn't that being done?
Foreign relationships.
Any country that interferes with us will, in fact, pay a price because they're affecting our sovereignty.
President Trump, same question to you. Let me ask the question. You're going to have 2 minutes to respond. For 2 elections in a row now, there has been substantial interference from foreign adversaries. What would you do in your next
The first election was just a small advertising campaign.
term? To put it,
But that proved that the American people are so freaked out, like Joe Biden didn't just claim literally minutes ago, that even the suspicion of interference of an election will cause mass panic.
to put an end to this. 2 minutes
Well,
uninterrupted.
let me respond to the first part as Joe answered. Joe got $3.5 million from Russia, and it came through.
That's not really true. Joe Biden's son got $3.5 million from the wife of the mayor of Moscow.
Putin, because he was very friendly with the former mayor of Moscow. It was the mayor of Moscow's wife, and you got $3.5 million. Your family got $3.5 million, and someday you're gonna have to
If he denies it, that's a blatant lie.
explain why did you get 3.5. I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia. Now, about your thing last night, I knew all about that, and through John Ratcliffe, who's fantastic, DNI, he said the one thing that's common to both of them, they both want you to lose, because there has been nobody tougher to Russia. Between the sanctions, nobody tougher than me on Russia. Between the sanctions, between all of what I've done with NATO, I've got the NATO countries to put up an extra $130 billion, going to $420 billion a year. That's to guard against Russia. I sold, while he was selling pillows and sheets, I sold tank busters to Ukraine. There has been nobody tougher on Russia than Donald Trump. And I'll tell you, they were so bad. They took over the submarine port. You remember that very well. During your term, during you and Barack
Ooh, nice.
Obama, they took over a big part of what should have been Ukraine. You handed it to them, but you were getting a lot of money from Russia. They were paying you a lot of money, and they probably still are. But now, with what came out today, it's even worse. All of the emails, the horrible emails.
Let's see if this is one of the topics.
Of the kind of money that you were raking in, you and your family. And Joe, you were vice president when some of this was happening, and it should have never happened.
Uh-oh.
And I think you owe an explanation to the American people. Why is it? Somebody just had a news conference a little while ago who was essentially supposed to work with you and your family. But what he said was damning. And regardless of me, I think you have to clean it up and talk to the American people. Maybe you can do it right now.
Okay. So, yeah, he has to. Because if he says, oh, well, that didn't happen, he's gonna kind of look like he's denying it. And, well, it's unbelievably evident that it actually did happen. So, let's see. So he could either say, oh, that's ridiculous, unfounded claims, random out of context things, or he could say, well, yeah, but you've done even better. While your principle might be noble, you keep violating that principle over and over. So, or is he just gonna go pull a Joe Biden?
Vice President Biden, you may respond. 30
Stay
seconds.
here.
And then I do want to follow up on the election security.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever.
God damn it. He just pulled a Joe Biden. I have not taken a penny. Hey, don't look over there. That doesn't prove that his son was selling access to Joe Biden for, he wasn't monetizing his power. Don't look over there. I have not taken a penny from any foreign government. Don't look over there.
In my life, we learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money.
A bank account in China, and that bank account's reserved for China business. What's the problem with this? A bank account in China that's reserved for business in China? I don't see the problem with this. Of all the problems, it's that your inability to construct an argument.
I have not taken a single penny from any country whatsoever, ever. Number one. Number
Jesus Christ, are you trying to imitate an echo?
two, this is a president. I have released all of my tax returns. 22 years. Go look at them. 22 years of my tax returns.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to.
You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you?
Okay, under this logic, anybody who doesn't share their tax returns is automatically a tax is automatically under suspicion for a tax scandal. Because if you value privacy, no, you can't do that.
You hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world. And China's building a new road to a new a golf course you have overseas. So what's
China, the government of China, is building a road to a golf course. I doubt that.
going on here? Why don't release your tax return and stop talking about corruption?
President Trump, your response.
First of all, I called my accountants, underwrote it.
Tax returns don't equal corruption.
I'm going to release them as soon as we can. I want to do it, and it'll show how successful, how great this company is. But much more importantly than that, people were saying $750.
Actually,
I asked them a week ago.
I spot if he says $750, he's vulnerable to attack $750 and more. So yeah. But he's gonna have to go defend himself, and he's kind of already dug himself into this hole, so how's he gonna dig himself out of it?
Ago, I said, what did I pay? They said, sir, you prepaid tens of millions of dollars. I prepaid my tax. Tens over the last number of years. Tens of millions of dollars I prepaid. Because at some point they think it's an estimate. They think I may have to pay tax. So I already prepaid it. Nobody told me that.
Did your accountant
Nobody
tell
told
when
you that.
could release
Excuse
them?
me. And it wasn't written whenever they write this. They keep talking about $750, which I think is a filing fee. But let me just tell you, I prepaid millions and millions of dollars in taxes. Number one. Number two, I don't make money from China. You do. I don't make money from Ukraine. You do. I don't make money from Russia. You made $3.5 million, Joe, and your son gave.
You can't argue that, because his son did make $3.5 million. And I'd sure like $3.5 million.
They even have a statement that we have to give 10% to the big man. You're the big man, I think. I don't know, maybe you're not, but you're the big man, I think. Your son said we have to give 10% to the big man. Joe, what's that all about? It's terrible.
All right, gentlemen, I want to ask you both some questions
I have
about
to
all of this,
respond to
but
that.
I'm going to let you both respond very quickly. You just said you spoke to your accountant
Yes.
about potentially releasing your taxes. Did he tell you when you can release them? Do you
As
have
soon
a
as the audit is
deadline for
finished,
when you're going to release them
I
to the
get
American
treated
people?
worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because
you
I have a
don't
lot
have
of
the
people in there,
Well-
deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly. We made a deal, it was all settled until I decide to run for president. I get treated very badly by the IRS, very unfairly. But we had a deal all done. As soon as we're completed with the deal, I want to release it. But I have paid millions and millions of dollars, and it's worse than paying. I paid in advance. It's called prepaying your taxes. I paid in advance.
I want to ask you
Sure.
both about questions regarding your potential foreign entanglements and questions that have been raised to give you both a chance
Some
to
point
talk
about
about
this.
this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been?
Okay. Well, Joe Biden, are you drunk?
To talk about this more broadly. Respond very quickly, and then I'll get to my question.
Why did he's been saying this for
Yeah, he is drunk.
4 years? Show us.
Why did it 4 years?
Just show us. Stop playing around.
He's trying to.
Been saying for 4 years
Everybody
you're going to
knows.
release your taxes. Nobody knows, Mr. President. What they do know is you're not paying your taxes, or
If he's not paying his taxes, he'd probably be under arrest for tax evasion.
you're paying taxes that are so low. When last time he said what he paid, he said, I only pay that little because I'm smart. I know how to game the system. Come on. Come on, folks.
Very
So
quickly, President Trump, and then I want to get to two questions to both of you.
I was put through a phony witch hunt
Yeah.
for 3 years. It started before I even got elected. They spied on my campaign. No president should ever have to go through what I went through. Let me just
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. And I can prove it. So they got a FISA warrant, but they didn't get it legitimately. They lied to the court to get it. But the way they got the evidence that they lied about, is they said, "Hey, General Flynn," or some other lower ups, "Hey, have you heard about this? Okay, bye." And then they would schedule a meeting saying, "Oh, have you heard about this? Oh, oh, that's suspicious. Okay, now we can go surveil the entire Trump campaign. Thank you."
Say this. Mueller and 18 angry Democrats and FBI agents all over the place spent $48 million. They went through everything I had, including my tax returns,
And couldn't find a thing.
and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong, because
All right.
the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken. I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
All right, gentlemen, let me just ask.
You have houses all over the place. Laughable. Yeah, he does. Seriously.
Questions about
His live streams, his virtual town halls. Jesus Christ, it looks like he just came straight from the White House.
all of this broadly. Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect,
Oh my god. We're getting to the emails. Hallelujah.
was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine.
Okay, so, if the interaction took place between his run for candidacy and the end of his presidency or vice presidency, he's fine, but it would be unethical if it took place anywhere in between, especially in his vice president, or if it took place in his vice presidency, it would be corruption, and if it took place in his running, he would kind of seem a bit sketch.
We had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong.
You later learned.
Yet every single...
Okay, it's not that... Okay. How to walk Joe Biden through the story. So, when people get jobs for no apparent reason, it tends to look kind of suspicious. And when their dad used to be the vice president and emails were leaked saying that he'd cut funding, or cut money, to make sure you guys grow, it kind of seems suspect, don't you know?
Single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath, who worked for him, said, "I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one..."
Yeah, but the president can still fire anybody for any reason.
Single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing. Number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about
No, he didn't try to bribe anybody.
me, which they would not do and did not do, because it never, ever, ever happened. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had it.
What are we guys talking about again? Oh yeah, China.
The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
to
Trump,
deal with
let me
that. By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But
and
could I
then
just
you'll-
one thing?
very quickly?
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. and he didn't have a job. As soon as he became
He got dishonorably discharged for the booger sugar.
vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly,
basis
Mr.
for
Vice
that. Everybody investigated.
No basis for that, except, all these reports and investigations and all this saying, actually, yes, it did happen, but there's no basis.
That no one said anything he did was wrong in Ukraine.
Okay, President Trump, this is for you. Since you took office,
Nobody did, but it does seem a kind of bit suspect, when you're the presidential candidate and you were the vice president.
you've never divested from your business. You've personally promoted your properties abroad. A report this week, which was referenced, does indicate that your company has a bank account in China. So how can voters know that you don't have any foreign conflicts of interest?
So?
I have many bank accounts, and they're all listed, and they're all over the place. I mean, I was a businessman doing business. The bank account you're referring to, which is everybody knows about it, it's listed. The bank account was in 2013. That's what it was. It was open it was closed in 2015, I believe. And then I decided, because I was thinking about doing a deal in China like millions of other people. I was thinking about it, and I decided I'm not going to do it. Didn't like it. I decided not to do it. Had an account open, and I closed it.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, unlike him, where he's vice president,
Well, if he closed it, there's not really corruption there.
And he does business, I then decided to run for president after that. That was before. So I closed it before I even ran for president, let alone became president. Big difference. He is the vice president of the United States, and his son, his brother, and his other brother are getting rich. They're like a vacuum cleaner. They're sucking up money every
President Trump,
place
thank
he
you.
goes.
We do
Not
need to
true.
move on. I do want to ask you,
Dude, Joe Biden seems so like, oh my god, Trump, shut up. You're gonna reveal my family secrets.
Vice President Biden, about China. Let's talk about China more broadly. There have, of course, President Trump has said that they should pay for not being fully transparent in regards to the coronavirus.
Well, I think they should. I don't think they should. I think the Chinese are responsible, but I don't feel like there should actually be any real action, because that's gonna take something to enforce it.
If you were president, would you make China pay? And please be specific. What would that look like?
What I'd make China do is play by the international rules.
Oh god, damn it. The international rules that nobody really cares about, and you can't really do anything.
He has caused the deficit in China to go up, not down, with China, up, not down. We are making sure that in order to do business in China, you have to give all your intellectual property. You have to have a partner in China. It's 51%. We would not do that at all.
Oh god, Jesus.
Number two, we're in a situation where China would have to play by the rules internationally as well.
Yeah, well, I do feel like China and Russia and other countries like that should play by the rules. You can't really enforce that. We play by the rules because we're nice. But whatever, let's just continue.
As well. When I met with Xi, when I was still vice president, he said we're setting up air identification zones in the South China Sea. You can't fly through them. I said, we're going to fly through them. We just flew B-52, B-1 bombers through it. We're not.
Oh god, an ad. Shit. Okay, so me being a military expert, quote unquote, but I do know a lot about the American military, especially through World War II, and kind of the Cold War to some extent. B-52s were, designed to carry nuclear devices, and they were designed to last for 75 years. By the way, these things were designed in the 60s and we still use them today. And B-1 bombers were designed to drop not a nuclear device, but they were designed to be stealth. So yeah. Okay, let's go.
Through it. We're not going to pay attention. They have to play by the rules. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and
Embraces North Korea. Embraces North Korea. What was that whole controversy Democrats started about him fear-mongering with North Korea?
and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies. We make up we're 25% of the world's economy.
Yeah, 1/4. If everything was perfectly balanced, as everything should be, there would only be 4 countries. 4. Whatever, but we don't need facts.
We need to be having the rest of our friends with us saying to China, these are the rules. You play by them or you're going to pay the price for not paying by them economically. That's
Yeah. You can't guarantee that they'll do that, though.
the way I will run it. And that's what we did in upholding steel tariffs and a range of other things when we were president and vice president.
All right.
Tariffs. Kind of like the trade war. Yeah. Whatever, though.
Let's talk about North Korea.
Excuse me, no, I have to
Yes.
respond to that.
Okay. Very quickly.
Yeah, those were some huge allegations.
And then we're
Son
going to
walked
move on
out
to
with
North
$1.5
Korea.
billion from China to
Not
manage after
true.
spending 10 minutes in office and being in Air Force Two. Number one. Number two, there's a very strong email talking about your family wanting to make $10 million a year for introductions.
President Trump on China policy.
Introductions.
So, what
No, but wait a
specifically are
minute.
you going to do? What specifically are you going to do to make China pay? You've said you're going
First
to
of
make
all,
them pay.
China is paying. They're paying billions and billions of dollars. I just gave
New
$28 billion.
sanctions? New sanctions?
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers'
Because
money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from
Yeah,
China.
you know who the taxpayer is? It's called China. China
Not
paid
true.
28
It's not taxpayers. It's called China.
billion, and you know what they did to pay it, Joe? They devalued their currency, and they also paid up. And you know who got the money? Our farmers, our great farmers, because they were targeted. You never charged them anything. Also, I charged them 25% on dumped steel because they were killing our steel industry. We were not going to have a steel industry.
Okay.
And now we have a steel
Okay,
industry.
Vice President.
These are all true. If he refutes any of them, well, he'll be seen as a liar or just ignorant.
Biden, your response, please.
My response is, look, this isn't about, there's a reason why he's bringing up all this malarkey. There's a reason for it. He doesn't
There's a reason for all this malarkey. Okay, Joe Biden, tell me what it is.
want to talk about the substantive issues. It's not about his family and my family. It's about your family. And your family's hurting badly. If you're making less
From intense lockdowns because of mistakes with the coronavirus, like, come to Chinatown, it's just the flu, bro.
if you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making. And the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont, they're in trouble. We should be talking about your families, but that's the last thing he wants to talk about.
I want to.
But he has in the coronavirus section.
I want to talk about North Korea.
Excuse me,
I
just
do
for
want
1
to turn
second,
to
please.
10 seconds, Mr. President.
That's
10
a
seconds.
typical political statement. Let's get off this China thing, and then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk
I'm
about
not
North
a typical
Korea now.
politician.
Okay,
That's why I got elected.
Let's
get off
Ooh.
the subject of China. Let's talk around, sitting around the table.
All right.
Come on, Joe, you can do better.
We're going to talk about North Korea now. President Trump, you met with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un 3 times. You've talked
Only 3?
about your beautiful letters with him. You've touted the fact that there hasn't been a war or a long-range missile test. And yet North Korea recently rolled out its biggest ever intercontinental ballistic missile and continues to develop its nuclear arsenal. Do you see that?
Yeah, and you can't really stop them. What you can do is go into a plan called MAD, or Mutual Assured Destruction. In other words, you're gonna shoot something at me, I'm gonna shoot everything at you.
See that as a betrayal of the relationship you
No.
forged? Just 30 seconds here because we need to get on to the next.
So when I met with Barack Obama, we sat in the White House right at the beginning, had a great conversation. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, and it was well over an hour. He said the biggest problem we have with North Korea. He indicated we will be in a war with North Korea. Guess what? It would be a nuclear war, and he does have plenty of nuclear capability. In the meantime, I have a very good relationship with him. Different kind of a guy, but he probably thinks the same thing about me. We have a different kind of a relationship. We have a very good relationship, and there's no war. And about 2 months ago, he broke into a certain area. They said, oh, there's going to be trouble. I said, no, they're not, because he's not going to do that. And I was right. Look, instead of being in a war where millions of people, Seoul, is 25 miles away, millions and millions, 32 million people in Seoul, millions of people would be dead right now.
President
We
Trump,
don't have
that's
a war,
30
and I have a
seconds.
good
Thank
relationship.
you. Vice President Biden, to you. North Korea conducted 4 nuclear tests under the Obama administration. Why do you think you would be able to rein in this persistent threat?
Because I'd make it clear, which we were making clear to China, they had to be.
Yeah. But, you tried. You failed. Trump nuclear test from North Korea is 0. Biden, Obama nuclear test, 4. Trump 8 years.
To be part of the deal, because I made it clear, and as a spokesperson of the administration when I went to China, that they said, why are you moving your missile defense up so close? Why are you moving more forces here? Why are you continuing to do military maneuvers with South Korea? I said, because North Korea is a problem, and we're going to continue to do it so we can control them. We're going to make sure we can control them and make sure they cannot hurt.
Okay. So they had 4 nuclear tests and then stopped, which kind of makes you think they have a nuclear bomb, which they don't, luckily. But why would you get so close? It seems like a horrible military strategy. You don't want to go poke the bear who possibly has a nuclear bomb.
Not hurt us. And so if you want to do something about it, step up and help. If not, it's going to continue. What has he done? He's legitimized North Korea. He's talked about his good buddy who's a thug, and he talks about how we're better off.
He didn't say he's a good buddy. He said we have a good relationship.
And they have much more capable missiles, able to reach U.S. territory much more easily than ever did before.
Let me follow
Yeah, that kind of happens with time.
up with you, Vice President Biden. You've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American.
How's that gonna work? So what? China's just gonna go launch the nuclear missile? North Korea's just gonna build their nuclear missiles in China?
families.
They tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds,
They
President.
tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for a
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it. And that's okay. You know what, North Korea? We're not in a war. We have a good relationship. People don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to move
of other
on because
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
we have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
Your
a
Like
response.
saying we had a good
Jesus. Yeah, that's actually kind of interesting.
relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded.
Yeah, but you couldn't really predict that he could invade. A good relationship is good, as Trump said. You don't want to have enemies with people who have nuclear devices. You really don't.
Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on. The reason he would not meet with President Obama is because President Obama said, we're going to talk about denuclearization. We're not going to legitimize you, and we're going to continue to put stronger and stronger sanctions on you. That's why he wouldn't meet with us.
All right,
And it
let's
didn't
move
happen.
on. Let's
Excuse
move on
me.
and talk about
He
American
left me
families.
a mess, Kristen.
President Trump. Okay, we do
They
need to
left
move on.
me a mess. North Korea was a mess.
We
And
need
in fact,
to
if
move on
you
so that
remember
we
the
can
first
get to
2
all
or
of our
3
other
months,
questions tonight,
there was a
President
very
Trump.
dangerous period in my first 3 months before we sort of worked things out a little bit.
Okay.
There was a they left us a mess. And Obama would be, I think, the first to say it was the single biggest problem he thought that our country.
Okay, let's move on to American families and the economy. One of the issues that's most
The economy.
important to them is healthcare, as you both know. Today, there was a key vote on a new Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett, and healthcare is at the center of her confirmation fight. Over 20 million Americans get their health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. It's headed to the Supreme Court.
Okay, the Affordable Care Act is, well, depending on how you look at it, good or bad, but, people who have been on the Affordable Care Act say you're either too poor to afford it, because yes, you do actually have to pay for it, or you're too wealthy to get the benefits. There's no in between. And this isn't my saying. This is people who've actually been on Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act.
Court, and your administration, Mr. President, is advocating for the court to overturn it. If the Supreme Court does overturn that law, those 20 million Americans could lose their health insurance almost overnight. So what would you do if those people have their health insurance taken away? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Sure. First of all, I've already done something that nobody thought was possible.
Yes, he has. He's basically made Trump care. Okay, that's a bit brash.
Through the legislature, I terminated the individual mandate. That is the worst part of Obamacare, as we call it. The individual mandate where you have to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. I terminated. It's gone. Now it's in court because Obamacare is no good. But then I made a decision. Run it as well as you can to my people, great people. Run it as well as you can. I could have gone the other route and made everybody very unhappy. They ran it. Premiums are down. Everything's down. Here's the problem. No matter how well you run it, it's no good. What we'd like to do is terminate it. We have the individual mandate done. I don't know that it's going to work. If we don't win, we'll have to run it and we'll have Obamacare, but it'll be better run. But it no longer is Obamacare because without the individual mandate, it's much different. Pre-existing conditions will always stay. What I would like to do is a much better healthcare, much better.
So in other words, he's trying to go replace Obamacare with a better option. I don't see why he needs to terminate it so much as just change it.
Will always protect people with pre-existing. So I'd like to terminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time, and I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to
That's pretty bold.
win the House. But come up with a better health care, always protecting people with pre-existing conditions. And one thing very important, we have 180 million people out there that have great private health care. Far more than we're talking about with Obamacare. Joe Biden is going to terminate all of those policies. These are people that love their health care, people that have been successful, middle-income people, been successful. They have 180 million plans, 180 million people, families, under what he wants to do, which will basically be socialized medicine. He won't even have a choice. They want to terminate 180 million.
Well, yeah, he won't. His approval ratings will fall, and they'll choose another president if he doesn't do that, because that's where the Democratic Party's head is at.
In plans. We have done an incredible job on health care, and we're going to do even better.
Okay,
Let me
Vice
respond.
President Biden.
His mic got muted.
Yes, this is for you. Your healthcare plan calls for building on Obamacare. So my question is, what is your plan if the law is ruled unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
And I don't think he can reinstate it unless, magical president powers.
What I'm going to do is pass Obamacare with a public option, become Bidencare. The public option is an option that says that if you, in fact, do not have the wherewithal if you qualify for Medicaid and you do not have the wherewithal in your state to get Medicaid, you automatically are enrolled, providing competition for insurance companies. That's what's going to happen. Secondly, we're going to make sure we reduce the premiums and reduce drug prices.
No, it's not going to provide competition because the people who are in Obamacare probably can't afford healthcare, but they probably can't get that healthcare because Obamacare costs so much because of the individual mandate. But now that Trump's gone, it's probably it's turning into kind of like a junior healthcare. Like, you start here, you work your way up, then you get to normal healthcare, regular healthcare, not Obamacare.
Drug prices by making sure that there's competition that doesn't exist now, by allowing the Medicare to negotiate drug prices with the insurance companies. Thirdly, the idea that I want to eliminate private insurance. The reason why I had such a fight with 20 candidates for the nomination was I support private insurance. That's why I did not want.
Really? Okay, let's say you do. Let's say you do not implement private healthcare, right? Well, okay. Well, now we have a bunch of Republican candidates all running. Okay, and one of them says, he says, I will try to reform Bidencare because it's absolutely awful. Well, maybe in the next debate he'll say, what do you mean by reform? I will replace Bidencare with something better. It will be Trump 2.0. With that being said, video over.